Pros and cons of the Chinese governmental system as compared to Europe. In early modern China, the governmental structures of the country were drastically different from those of Europe. One reason for this was that the Chinese government was primarily controlled by knowledgeable philosophers, which stood in sharp contrast to the military-focused governance system prevalent in Europe. In this essay, it is necessary to explore how this difference in the Chinese government may have been either an advantage or disadvantage to the Chinese relative to Europe. In some respects, it offered a more effective way of governing; in others, it was less well equipped to handle the complex challenges of the time. China and Europe had different political systems with unique strengths and weaknesses. China's long tradition of centralized government and bureaucracy allowed for more consolidated decision-making. This system provided continuity in the administration of the country. However, Europe's varied political landscape, which included monarchies, republics, and other forms of government, also had its own strengths. While the political situation in Europe was often in flux due to power struggles between monarchs, nobles, and religious leaders, it also allowed for diverse perspectives and experimentation with different political systems. Moreover, the Chinese government system was more focused on meritocracy than the European system, as it primarily relied on educated elites. It was also better at keeping the peace, as the military was largely excluded from decision-making, and there was less focus on war. Government positions were open to anyone who could demonstrate their ability and knowledge. This allowed talented people from all classes to rise to positions of power and helped ensure that competent administrators staffed the government. While in Europe, government positions were often hereditary and open to only the wealthy and powerful. A third advantage of the Chinese system was its emphasis on education. The philosophers, or the learned, had a prominent role in the government, and they were responsible for formulating policies and advising the emperor. As a result, there was a higher priority placed on fostering intellectual endeavors and nurturing gifted individuals. On the other hand, there were also some significant flaws in the Chinese system of government. For one, the Chinese system was less flexible than the European system, as it did not allow for quick responses to changing circumstances or challenges. Additionally, the Chinese approach was less focused on economic growth, as it relied strongly on intellectuals rather than the military, which could have been a major disadvantage relative to Europe. The Chinese system was also less democratic than the European system. Another drawback of the Chinese system was its reliance on tradition. The government was steeped in centuries of tradition and ritual, which could make it resistant to change and innovation. In contrast, Europe was often more receptive to new ideas and technologies. It can be challenging to conclusively state whether the Chinese system of government had more strengths or weaknesses compared to Europe. On the one hand, the Chinese system had its benefits, such as allowing for a more unified and centralized government, more intelligent decision-making, and promoting peace. On the other hand, the Chinese system also had its disadvantages, such as being less flexible, less focused on economic growth, and less democratic.